heart of Precinct 4, Northside. I'll tell a story before I introduce myself. One of the main reasons why I decided to get involved in politics in the first place was a good friend of mine. Some of y'all may know him, Jim Lane. His office is right up the road. We used to have breakfast and lunch here pretty regularly, and he convinced me that good people needed to step up and get involved if we wanted to make a difference in our community. So Jim Lane was a mentor of mine, and his office right up the street. This restaurant has a special connection. Well, I'm Manny Ramirez. I'm the Tarrant County Commissioner here in Precinct 4. Husband to Fabiola, father to Sophia, me, and Penelope, 3 little girls, 12, 11, and 10. Served as a police officer here in Fort Worth for 15 years. I was our president of the Police Officers Association for the last 5, and decided to run for office because our current commissioner of Precinct 4 was stepping down. I recognized that if we wanted to make the community, if we wanted to make our society better, we can't just sit there and lob things from the outside. We had to get involved, step up and do the right thing. So there's a lot of incredible things happening in Precinct 4. We have 15 different cities inside of our precinct, over 600,000 citizens at this point. But obviously the lion's share of our precinct is Fort Worth. We stretch all the way from Haltom City out to Azle, all the way down to Benbrook and up to Wise County. But no more important communities than right here in the heart of Fort Worth. We have some incredible local representation that I've worked with for a very long time. Carlos Flores is here. I don't know if we mentioned him yet. Carlos, thank you very much for what you do. You've been a partner not just over the last couple of years, but for the last decade. So I appreciate what you've done. We also have great representatives from Matty Parker. Our state representatives are great around this area. And I say this all the time, politics is a team sport in Tarrant County. And I think that we all have to make sure that we're connected with each other. Our local ISD superintendents and all of our civic organizations are important. You know, my story is a little unique in how I got involved in the police department and involved in politics. So my grandparents came up here from the valley. They were migrant laborers all the way from the valley to Ohio, and they raised 8 kids in Blue Mountain, Texas. 8 of their kids, or 6 of their kids ended up being military veterans. 3 of them ended up being police officers. And my grandfather had no more than a 6th grade education. Now those are the things that are important to our story, but it's a culture of service. They always said if you want something, you have to work for it, and if you work for it, you can achieve anything. And so I truly believe that, and that's what I instill in my children. But I mean, you have to be a prime example of it when it counts. You can't just say those things. You've got to step up and lead the right way. In Precinct 4, we're hyper-focused on public safety, transportation, and mobility, and making sure that our citizens have adequate roads to drive, make sure that health care is there for everybody. Those are our hyper-focused areas. Now, obviously, I occupy a political position, but you won't hear me talk about politics very often. You know, politics in our world and day and age right now is so polarizing that I think we have to get back to just focusing on policy, results, and governance. That's what matters to me, and that's how we operate. I think anybody who has seen how we operate on the Commissioner's Court or how I operate as Speedway President can understand that for me, it's truly about the results and it's about making our community better. I go on and on and on, but I would really love to hear from you. I really love to hear any questions that you have about what the County Commissioner's Office does, maybe about experience with POA, or any other topic that anybody would like to discuss. You know, I'm open to discuss anything with y'all, and I'd love to have a conversation. So if anybody wants to hear anything specific, I'm all ears. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. As a representative for this district, how do you go about informing your constituents of upcoming agenda items that may be of interest?
I don't know if everybody heard, but she asked how we go about informing our constituents about upcoming agenda items. So we've got a quarterly newsletter where big things that are coming up, we push out there. Now, I know I just got Salvador on the list. He wasn't on there for the longest time. But we need to make sure that that newsletter is published out to everybody. Our agendas are posted every single Friday before the Tuesday meetings. But usually big things that come on the agenda, have been discussed week after week after week, and then it kind of pops up. But I mean, our direct communication is through our newsletter. That's what our office puts together.
But what about for the, let's say, senior citizens that don't have access to a desktop, a laptop, don't know how to operate, the phones, cell phones, to get that information? How is that information disseminated out to them?
So we partner with all of our senior citizen centers in every single city that we're in, and they're all on that list. I do think that outreach to our senior community is important, and I think that you're right. I mean, some folks don't have access to cell phones, and some folks don't have access to the internet. I don't know if that's something we need to look at as far as direct mail or what, but the agendas right now for the court, just broadly for the entire county, are just published online, and that's how it's disseminated. So,
my last question, and very important, is the streets on the north side. You have many streets that are, the striping is no longer visible. Who does an actual, let's say, research as to what needs to be done and what not? I mean, recently here, we just barely got Abraham, which is also Northwest 28th Street, restriped, but yet there's, like, for example, 21st Street that leads into Northside High School. You can't even tell if you're driving in what lane. There's no striping there. And if you take a tour of the north side and take a look at all the streets, you will see how many need to be restriped and haven't been restriped in probably more than 10 years. So who does that, and how is that possibility of getting that taken care of?
yeah, so I don't want to step on the city of Fort Worth's toes. So if it's in the city of Fort Worth proper, their transportation public works department does that. I will say this, the easiest way to get on their radar, and Councilman Flores will tell you this, is to go on that app, the Mindful Worth app, and literally just say, these roads need to be addressed. I mean, that app is pretty powerful, but also reach out to the City of Fort Worth Transportation Public Works Department and tell them exactly which roads you're concerned about. From our partnership, anytime that we've reached out, because we have folks call our office all the time, and they're on City of Fort Worth specific roads, and we'll reach out directly to transportation and say, hey guys, you've got an issue here. They called our office about a pothole, or they called our office about this, and the city's usually very responsive. So it's just getting in charge. To answer your question directly, it's Transportation Public Works in Fort Worth, and yeah.
I want to add something for everyone. Thank you. 28th Street is a state highway that is not managed by the City of Fort Worth. And let me give you a specific example. Decatur, striping. I put in that request several months back, got some feedback from concerned residents that needed to be restriped. TxDOT precluded us from doing that until 28th Street project was further along. Downtown is another area where, because of heavy traffic and use, a lot of the striping starts to fade. We're looking at other applications, other technologies, beyond just paint, reflective paint, that'll add to the longevity of that striping. But again, as Commissioner Ramirez said, one of the best ways to do that is to download that My Fort Worth app. It's free. You can do Google or Android and report it. It's very simple, and you'll get a case number, and that way it'll enable you to follow up on it. But TPW has a crew out there. You might see some signage to that effect that says that they are starting to send crews out to take these assessments. So keep in mind, sometimes the time of the season makes it so that we have to schedule that several months later. There are a lot of projects that are in the works. If you have any questions, please contact me.
Thanks, Carlos.
Can I ask one more question?
One more question.
I think pretty much everybody in this room understands and knows what Tim O'Hare's agenda is. As a representative, and this has nothing to do with being Republican or Democrat, this has to do with doing what's right. Are you willing to stand up to some of his tactics that create issues for people that look like you and I?
I'll say my focus 100% is on making our community better. My focus 100% is on making sure that public safety, infrastructure, public health, all the things that we care about are front and center. The noise that happens when you get into partisan politics, one way or the other, I think everybody in this room, I mean, if you pay attention, has seen that I am willing to stand up and do what I believe is right. And some folks in this room may not agree with everything that I do. Folks outside of the room may not agree with what I do. I mean, folks from my own party may not agree with what I do. But at the end of the day, I do what I believe is right for our community. And politics truly plays no part in my decision-making process. I mean, we saw it just recently in a pretty big decision that we had to make as a court. For me, it's common sense, and it's representation matters. So, to answer your question plainly, absolutely, I just believe in doing what's right.
We have another.
Good morning, my name is Joanna Cardoza. I actually live in Precinct 2. But before I advocate for some stuff, I want to say thank you for voting to not eliminate voting centers at the colleges. Appreciate you. But I do want to ask you, I got 3 asks, but you can wait until the end to answer. What can you do to hold our sheriff accountable for all the deaths that are happening in the Tarrant County Jail? That is a huge concern for me. The other thing is I am concerned about the continuous defunding of our JPS, our county hospitals through tax cuts. My mom recently had cancer and she had surgery at JPS, and I'm very grateful to them. She's now cancer-free, but I know that many county residents don't have insurance and they rely on our county hospital for life-saving procedures. The other thing is I am concerned about cuts from the county or the investment in programs that are very valuable to some residents here in Tarrant County, such as investment in workforce housing, child care, and also mentorship programs such as LULAC.
Thank you for the questions. So I think the first one was sheriff, right? Well, I'll address that one first. So the Tarrant County Commissioners Court, our responsibility is budgetary oversight and authority for every department essentially in the county. So that's the sheriff's office, the DA's office. We're responsible for making sure that the budgetary check and balance is there. We have no actual authority to set any policy for the sheriff's office. We have no actual authority to set or tell the sheriff to do anything in particular. That's not in our real authority to mandate that he does anything. I will say this, the measures that we've taken over the last year, we've brought in folks to help on the business side. And when I say business side, I mean recruiting, retention, scheduling, all of the rest. Because a lot of the issues that we've seen pop up in the jail were due to workforce shortages, were due to incredibly stretched thin personnel, and an increased jail population. And we saw that directly. And so instead of dancing around the subject, I said we need to solve those problems. And so everything that we've done by working with our judges to get cases moved faster so that people get adjudicated quicker and get out of jail faster, everything that we've done with working with our recruiters and bringing in more resources, it's all starting to bear fruit. I mean, just a year and a half ago, we had over 250 jailer vacancies, and today it's 170. Just a year and a half ago, we had about 4,800 people in custody in our jail. Today, it's 4,099. And so we get reports every single day. So that stuff is very, very important to us, the actual causes and the actual metrics. But as we see more change and as we see more turnover, it's important, as somebody who has a lot of law enforcement experience, to share what I believe are best practices. I think one way that we have to ensure that there's accountability at every single level is to make sure that there's transparency. I've advocated very loudly for wholesale policy change that implements not only media policies, whenever you have a critical incident, video release policies, body cams, all of those things I've advocated for publicly and said these are the things that our community deserves. They just need to know. If we're doing the right thing, everybody needs to see it. And if there are ways to improve, then we need to improve. And so, just answering that question directly, we have no legitimate authority or power to tell the sheriff what his policies are. But we can look around the country, look around the state, and find out what best practices are and say, listen, this is what we believe the direction for the county should be. And to his credit, I'll say this, Sheriff Wayburn has been very willing and open to listen to that dialogue and been very willing and open to partner with us and say, I'll implement some of these policies, and I do think this is best practices. As far as the jail operations goes, the jail administrator retired, and instead of just hiring somebody from inside, we asked specifically, I said, listen, I think that we need the best and brightest to come in and help operate that jail. And so he's agreed to do a national search and bring in the best and brightest from across the country, because that's what I believe it needs. So, we're doing every single thing that is feasible to try to address the root causes of what's happening. And so I hope that it bears fruit, and I've seen just in the metrics that we track, it has been over the last several months. Now, as far as JPS goes, I'll say this, so we're very proud to have been able to cut taxes 2 years in a row below the no new revenue rate. I mean, actual tax cuts don't happen very often in local governments. And a lot of folks call and ask, so I hear 50-50. I don't just hear the side that says cut tax, cut tax, cut tax. I hear both sides. I hear the side that says, hey man, we're not cutting tax, we're not cutting off our nose to spite our face. And I said, no, absolutely not. There were a lot of places where we could have a lot of savings. JPS, I would never cut taxes to JPS and make cutting services. I work very, very closely with CEO Karen Duncan. I talk to her almost weekly, and especially around budget time, we're talking daily. And so every decision I make, and you'll see this bear out just in court, every decision I make is with the advice of the folks that are actually doing the job. So I asked Dr. Duncan, I said, Dr. Duncan, what do you need? What do you need to operate this hospital and operate it as efficiently and effectively as possible, delivering the best service? And she'll tell me exactly what she needs. So my decisions are informed by the folks that are actually doing it, and I don't feel any pressure to cut for the sake of cutting. I want to cut to actually provide tax relief to the citizens that are paying tax on their homes, but I don't feel the need to cut for the sake of cutting. And I forgot the last question.
I want to see more investments in programs that are valuable to our residents, such as affordable housing, child care, and mentorship programs such as Rosie.
Yeah, I'll say this. So we have a long history of partnering with some incredible nonprofits in our community. Leah King, the former CEO of United Way, was a dear friend of mine. And, her replacement is incredible also. And so I think that our nonprofit community picks up a lot of that and makes sure that we can deliver those services. But it's a priority that the folks in our community know that it's not just about, handouts, it's giving opportunities. And that's what matters. So, workforce development, obviously our ISDs and everybody else, our TCC partners, they have a huge role to play in making sure that our workforce is ready for all the jobs that are coming here. When we say economic development, we might as well just say workforce development because you have to have the workforce here if you're going to have real, true economic development.
But we also need housing for them.
What's that?
I said we also need housing.
Yes, we do. And statewide, housing is an incredible issue. You saw they had a Senate hearing just yesterday talking about the causes of housing affordability and how we can actually drive those costs down. In my opinion, and obviously I'm not a state legislator, I can't affect it, but in my opinion, it's a lot of the red tape that goes into building, permitting, all the rest that really inflate those costs and timelines. But I agree with you. We need more houses.
We're about 5 minutes.
Good morning, Norma Garcia Lopez. Oh, somebody else before?
No, good.
Okay. Norma Garcia Lopez. I'm not asking questions. I need to make a statement. We do need more accountability with Sheriff Wayburn and more transparency. If I was a leader in his position and I had so many deaths under my leadership, I would be investigated and be gone. And that's what Sheriff Wayburn that's what should happen with Sheriff Wayburn. We need you to be a little bit more aggressive in holding him accountable. And the next thing is that you have a unique position. You are the only Latino commissioner in this court, the first one, historically, elected. You represent not just your precinct, but whole diverse community over Tarrant County, right? Okay, so you have that. But why is it that when you say you were doing the right thing, sometimes doing the right thing is you gotta make others uncomfortable doing the right thing. So when you do the right thing, it means that you stand up for all the community members that look like you. But you align yourself with Sheriff Wayburn and MAGA extreme views that are hurtful to our community, to the immigrant community, Latino community, policies that hurt us. Also, earlier you said doing the right thing about this community. You voted against programs that hurt your precinct, this community. So we're paying attention, Commissioner Ramirez. We're paying attention. So I just want you to aware that, you know, we are not, como dice uno, no estamos mensos, te estamos mirando lo que estás haciendo con nuestra comunidad. So you can't stand there and say you're doing the right thing when you just are lining yourself with partisan views and that are very hurtful to our community.
Buenos dias, good morning. Earlier in your introduction, you spoke that you were I think you represented the president of the LPOA, Latino Peace Officers, is that correct?
The Forward Peace Officers Association.
Right, okay, well, that's Forward Peace Officers. My question for you is about the minority representation of the hiring in the Tarrant County specifically, and in your precinct, your area specifically. Could you speak to what the rates are of minority hiring and also minority contracting within the county as a whole and specifically your district?
Yeah, I'll say for the county as a whole, our actual ratios are among the best in the area when it comes to minority hiring ratios. I want to say in the sheriff's office specifically, it's around 40%. And it's 40%, but you know, that's from all races and demographics, so that we have a very, very diverse workforce in Tarrant County. What you see in Precinct 4 is no different. I mean, I want to say Precinct 4, my precinct as a whole, the population is around 40 to 42% Latino, and you know, the demographic shift is pretty well evenly broken out. But in Tarrant County, you know, my focus is making sure that we have the best and brightest that want to come and serve the community, because public service, I mean, it's a calling. And you have to truly want to give back, because these folks don't make as much as they can make in the private sector. They have stressors that they have to deal with every single day. And so we're making sure that we're giving back to them. I mean, we partner, our office partners very closely with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We make sure that it's front and center, our small local business contractors. Just now, it may have passed already, I'm not sure if it did. You know, we just approved an economic development agreement with a company from Tarrant County instead of a company from outside of Tarrant County. So focus for us is always how do we boost our local businesses and make sure that our local businesses are prioritized first. Because these are the people that have been here, that have been investing in our community, and we want to make sure that they continue to stay here and continue to build their workforces and raise their families here. I mean, I don't think there's a better place in the world to be than Tarrant County right now. And so we want to make sure that we keep it that way.
All right, we have our final 3 questions already identified. So there's only going to be 3 more questions for Commissioner Ramirez, and then we're going to go to our next guest. Okay, go ahead, Lon.
Good morning, Manny. I'm Lon Gorham, as many of you know, and I represented this area for many years in the legislature. And I've been a resident of this commissioner district for decades, and for almost that long, I've been a member of the Session Chavez Committee. First, I'm not happy with the way that situation is handled. I hope you will guarantee to work towards keeping that as a holiday forward. Secondly, I will have a follow-up question about the sheriff situation. I'm really glad that you've already explained the limitations that the court has on dealing with the sheriff. But on the agenda that was postponed from last Tuesday to this coming Tuesday, there are about 7 or 8 agenda items that are about giving the DA the authority to hire outside counsel to cover up the misdeeds of the sheriff. You have the power of the purse over both the sheriff and the DA. And while some people may not think that I'm a fiscal conservative, I really do resent the hell out of the waste of money covering this guy's mistakes. I resent the heck out of the waste of money sending him to right-wing national conferences to spew his misinformation. So my question is, when are you going to act like a true fiscal conservative when it comes to managing the DA's office and the sheriff's office?
So I'll say this, on those outside counsel contracts, the difficulty is the county has the legal obligation to provide counsel, and since the county is a party to a lawsuit, the DA's office can't provide representation for those employees. That's the law as it's stated and as it's bound. So, Lon, while I certainly agree with you, and I wish and hope and pray that we never have to spend another dollar on legal counsel again, and I wish and hope and pray that we never have another death in the Tarrant County Jail again. The fact of the matter is, legally, and this is as explained to me by the DA's office, legally we have to provide counsel for those employees. So I don't know which way to get around that. I don't know how to. But you know, and first of all, I appreciate what you've done for our community for a long, long time. But you know that there are certain things, limitations that the Commissioners Court has. And the Constitution set it out that way so that there was a separation, so that we are bound and governed by rules also. Now, as far as being a loud, outspoken advocate for getting things done in the Sheriff's Office, my focus is on always doing the right thing and trying to solve the problem. That's why whenever we talk about training, whenever we talk about having an adequately trained workforce so that things like this never happen again, that's my focus. Obviously, we can't go back and change the past. I wish we could. But my focus is on making sure that we are doing everything in our power to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And so if that means investing in training programs, if that means investing in body cameras, if that means investing in a whole slew of things that bring professionalism to the agency, and that's what we have to do. But obviously my focus is on making sure that we're doing the right thing on, and again, being a fiscal conservative.
That was not my question. My question was about funding justice to Christian nationalist conferences at our expense. The sheriff has no business making junkets at our expense that we can utilize for benefits.
Yeah, I will agree with you. I think going to political events on county expense is not appropriate. So I will agree with you there, and if you can recommend some specific ones, I'd love to take a look at it.
We have our next to last question.
Yes. My first language is Spanish, and I hope you all understand my problem, my situation that I've been through. Many things, I'm a citizen for this United States. I'm a citizen 25 years ago, and I'm a worker of election official and voting. I've been there for 8 years, and I like to know, I like the people to know what and I hope God sent the right people to tell me what I need to do. 2 years ago, I went to see my husband in Mexico, in San Marcos, Texas. 2 in the morning, I was driving, and I get mistreated by 2 police officers. They don't want to, I have full coverage. They just, I've been in an accident because they didn't put any signal. It was an 18-wheel. The problem is, when they find out I'm a citizen, they say, you need to come because we want to apologize because we don't have no experience. And know that my husband, he's waiting in Mexico in the border for 6 years, waiting for his papers. Another thing is, I don't have a job. I'm 59. I have a house. I've been fixing, hopeless, breaking into my house because I'm Mexican, but now I'm citizen for
the United States 25 years ago. The policeman, he see American people breaking into my house, living in the house, and they didn't want to. My house is going to need to be fixed. I don't have a job. I need my house to come to the United States. We do everything legal, and I didn't have a lawyer, but I have already the paperwork. He's busy waiting for the appointment. We're going to go to for the entrance to the appointment signature, and I'm ready for I'm not going to say that, but even that, and he's the one who gives strength, he's the one who provides for me. But I would like to show all the people they have a good position, do everything right. God is opening doors, God knows their heart. We are here in the United States, we are a family, we are together, they know that Republicans, and we work really to do is pray to God, look at God, and He's going to guide us to do it. And I need some help, it's somebody my husband is waiting, you know, in Mexico is really I like to get some help. Who can help me? Who can help people waiting? And in some data, many opportunities, Ryan and forward, you don't have opportunities that they have more places for the community, and we like to have same opportunities like that. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Janelle Johnson, and I'm here because my brother was killed underneath the Tarrant County Jail. So all the issues that are going on is related to my brother. I'm here because Manny Ramirez has still, since April 21st, has not come by the house and asked us what I can do in order to make a change. He's also the only other person in this room that knows that tape is the only reason why Wayborn is in office. The votes were very close, and unfortunately, because I'm going through grief, I didn't have the time to go and make way to the community that I live 10 minutes from to let you know what's going on. It's the culture, because it was two Hispanic men that killed him. Not because of, looking at us, it's because of the culture that's run underway. They don't see people. The mental health issues that are going on in everybody's community. But in that culture, in that jail, they don't see that. They see power. And the only one that knows that power is Ramirez. He knows it. And the fact that you can't put that aside and stand up for your residents, because now I have all the time. I got 2.5 years ago. And to think that when we're done with this situation, it's going to affect this community first. It's going to affect this community because programs will be cut. It will affect my own community because taxes will be cut. The house that the lady was speaking on is going to be much harder to afford that because you're not going to be able to pay for it. Because now it's going to be an offset of lawsuits. Because if you see what happened in that videotape, which he knows, oh, trust me, we deserve every single dollar. And I would hate to know that that dollar amount is really going to bring the change here. And he knows that. So it's very interesting to me because the past 2 commissioners' court, you haven't been there. You haven't been there to go ahead and go against that vote. And we know that. But see, you're dealing with, and not to say that, not to put anybody down, but this is to help you. You're dealing with someone with the same educational level as him. But unlike what he's doing just to, save face for the other guys, I'll be here to go ahead and translate what's about to happen to this community that I'm 10 minutes from. So, Mr. Ramirez, why haven't you, knowing what Wayborn has done, stand up and say, you know what, Wayborn, you've been here for the past 7+ years with the amount of deaths. Statistically, you know that amount of deaths doesn't make any sense. And you're causing rift between the community that I come from and other communities to come because you know what's happening on that tape. So instead of standing up and going against it, explain to your community what the real reason why you're going against what we're trying to push forward. You voted for that man. Remember that. You voted to keep his pension going. You voted for his livelihood. That's going to affect everybody in this room. So what are you going to start doing? Because avoiding commissioner's court is not going to happen. Because as you can see, I will find you. And now that I came to you now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to your people, like I said, that is going to affect them the most? Because while they're over here going to try to figure out what's going on, they voted for you. But you knew the truth. So why are you hiding from the truth? And why are you making us come find you for it?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Ms. Johnson, for coming out here. Thank you for your family for coming out here. I'll say this. From the beginning, there's never been a mentality from me or anybody in my entire sphere that wasn't 100% laser focused on trying to make sure that what happened to your brother never happens again. Now, ultimately, we did reach out to your family. We reached out through the attorneys because that's what they asked for, and they never set a meeting up. But you're here, and I would love to have a conversation with you and your family because I think the only way that we make sure that there's transparency and accountability is if we work together going forward. And so you're not looking at an obstacle here. You're not looking at a brick wall that's standing in the way. You're looking at somebody who's willing to work with you and work with the entire community to make it better. Work with the entire, not just jail staff, but the folks that influence the training statewide, nationally, the folks that influence the policies and procedures. That's the way that we make sure that we protect going forward every single person in Tarrant County. And so you've got a willing partner here. Just know that. I mean, I'll hang out and have a conversation with you right after. But again, I appreciate you being here, and you don't have any problem with me.
All right, thank you everyone for your contributions to this conversation. Thank you for the time, Commissioner Ramirez. We're going to move on to our next guest, Interim Superintendent Dr. Karen Molinar. Let's give a round.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Molinar, and happy to serve as the interim superintendent for Fort Worth Independent School District. Just a little bit about myself. I started teaching. I'm originally from the East Coast, was recruited to teach in Fort Worth ISD in 1997. My first job was at Washington Heights Elementary, underground. So, yay, Washington. Yeah. Served under Rebecca Ramirez as the principal. Then became assistant principal at Bonnie Gray Elementary when the school opened, and principal at Oakhurst Elementary in the Carter Riverside area. I've been with the district, this is year 26, and I've served in many roles within the district, especially central administration. I do want to recognize my husband's joining me, Orlando. We have raised our daughter here, and she's a graduate of Fort Worth ISD, currently a sophomore in college, so we are empty nesters. And then Anya Luebanos, our school board trustee, is joining us as well this morning. When I took on the role as interim, it was very important for me that we kept going in the focus about students and student achievement, as well as building our community. As I pass out on your table, you have a pamphlet. When I took the role, I asked the board members if I could please roll out 5 priorities that I wanted to focus on for the remainder of this school year until our school board decides on their next steps for a permanent superintendent. In this pamphlet, you're going to see 5 priorities that I and our cabinet and our central administration and our campuses are focused on our students, our teachers, as well as bringing our community back into Fort Worth ISD. Number 1 priority for me is always student achievement and being transparent about our students. If you notice in every board meeting, I will now do a superintendent's report that will share data that's happening currently on our campuses, but more importantly to me, that data shows our student group data. I break the data down by our Hispanic population, our special ed population, our emerging bilinguals, as well as our African American population. We will not be able to focus on our students individually unless we look at our data by our student groups, by each student, by each campus. You also see in our priority for number 2 is re-engaging our community and business partners. Over the years, we've seen where our communities have not been as welcomed in the school, but more importantly, elevated and appreciated. We have community groups and community members and partners that work with our students every single day after school for 3 to 4 hours. And as a school district, it's our job to see how to help and support those groups, those partners, but more importantly, what obstacles are we putting in the way as a district to help continue that support for our students. We have over 70 Fort Worth after-school programs that we as Fort Worth ISD run. However, as of October last month, we had 1,000 seats that our students were not taking advantage of. And more importantly, as a district, we were not making that connection to put our students in an after-school program. In the after-school programming, they get not only tutorial help, homework help, resources, enrichment, fun things. That's what keeps our students in school as well. As of yesterday, I asked for an update. We have now filled over 150 of those empty seats. So we will continue working. Right here in your community at MH Moore, we have the UCC that does after-school programming for our schools as well. And Mrs. Garza and I work together very closely, and she shared she still had over 300 seats between her community centers. So we will be working to put our kids into those after-school programming for resources. We also have over here this morning, a flyer, and I really would appreciate it if you would take this back to your own communities. It's about free dinner for our students. These are the type of resources that we have not been promoting in our district. The QR code will show you where our students and some of our families can go every day and not only receive free dinner for the students, but also for siblings and parents. So I encourage you to take one of these and share. We know we have families in need. We know we have students, families who work where our students go home by themselves and they may be making dinner on their own. We have the access and we have the resources to help them as well. And I know you really want to do the Q&A part, so I just want to skip to priority 5, but please feel free to ask any questions about the priorities. But priority 5 is really looking at how we utilizing our current facilities to be more efficient. One of the things I do want to share with you is that our International Newcomers Academy that have all of our newcomers in 6 through 12 that come to our school district are currently housed in a campus off of 30 in it's called Valentine. They have outgrown that campus. We have those students in portables in addition to being on that smaller campus. We recently were able to consolidate Glencrest 6th grade students into Forest Oak. So it's a 6, 7, 8. In December, we will be moving our students from INA into that Glencrest 6 campus, a much larger campus. It's safe, it's secure, they will not be in portable buildings, and more importantly, it's putting them back in their community closer to their parents. which is to me the most important. They will not be on the bus as long, and they will have their family, they'll be able to feed into their high school and be able to participate in more after-school activities within their neighborhood as well. So I can talk all day, I'm a teacher, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the questions and answers. Mr. Actis, yeah.
First of all, you have a history with White Settlement ISD, right?
No, White Settlement?
White Settlement ISD?
No, sir. No, ma'am. Frank Molinar, we're not related, is the superintendent.
I wasn't asking about him.
Okay.
I was just asking if you had White Settlement ISD. Also, since there is going to be, I'm assuming, the superintendent search, unless you've already been anointed to be the permanent superintendent, but what happens with these priorities? Let's say, for example, that you're not selected, so there's money going to be spent in order to create these points that you put out, so then they're going to start all over again, whoever the new superintendent is, correct?
So I have not added anything additional to the budget. When we're focusing on these priorities, it's reallocating current resources. One of the examples is we have campus instructional coaches on our campuses, but we know our students need interventions themselves. We have teachers who have 22 to 28 students in the classroom at all different levels. So one of the things I have rolled out is to take the current resources of our campus instructional coaches, and this will roll out in 2 weeks, and they'll start having their own groups where they'll push in and work with our students. That is not in addition to our school budget at all, but that is one of my priorities, because we already have that resource. It's just reallocating and changing the role of those campus instructional coaches to actually touch our students. But more importantly, when we're deciding on the budget for next year, we need to decide what is giving us a return on investment for student achievement. Students should always be at the forefront. So this way I can see our campus instructional coaches who work with students 2 to 3 days a week have a higher return of investment because we're seeing that student growth. We've had campus instructional coaches in our district for years, but we're not seeing our student growth increase. So if we have them have time working with students and we start to see that increase, that needs to be a change in a role and allocation. Now, back to your question about these priorities versus permanent. When the board decides their next steps, one of the things we are doing is a strategic plan. Dr. Ramsey, the prior superintendent, created a strategic plan. We got feedback from the community. It did not pass at the board meeting. However, we are taking back the comments and the feedback and readjusting the strategic plan. We'll bring it back for more feedback from the community, and that's a 5-year plan that the board votes on. The board sets the goals, so regardless of whoever's in this role would come in and go forward with those goals of a strategic plan. Yes, sir.
I have a question. My wife's a school teacher, and she does not go to bed no earlier than midnight every single day. She works on the weekends. And my question to you is, I've been in corporate America for over 4 years, and when we roll out something for training for our employees, it has objectives, and we give them support documents and exactly what to say and what to do and how to do it. And then they're measured. Well, as being a teacher, the teacher has to be very creative. Y'all issue them a objective, but do not give them any support. She has to go to the teacher's aid online and pay for instruction guidelines so she can come to teach her class. Out of her pocket, she has to pay it. Fortunately, we can afford that, but there's a lot of teachers that can't. The district has math support group, reading support group, but they do not provide the teacher with any specific how to teach, and this is the way that you do it. The teacher has to decide that. They're given wide parameters, but they're not given them. So my question to you is that it seems like the training process for teachers is put on the teacher, not in the support group. High salary support group really don't take care of the basic needs of the teacher. Teacher is having to, you need to support the teacher because you have the system in place. For example, if they need to do a chart, you would think that you go to the reading department and say, hey, send me a chart. No, the teacher has to design it and fill in the information so she can teach it. Every teacher in the district is doing their own thing, and they have to be their own creative person. So to me, just seeing it from a corporate level, I can see that the training process for teachers is very weak from the Fort Worth ISD. I don't know if all ISDs do that, but in Fort Worth, it's very apparent. Example on supporting teachers, classroom size that we've addressed. You know, the other thing that you have to teach is support them on discipline. You have special education children, autistic children in the main classroom. And how is the teacher going to control that environment and teach effectively? And then when they're measured, the district is measured, they take those readings that include autistic children, handicapped children that are not capable of learning, and add up into the total of what the school district is really producing. I see that compared to corporate America, y'all guys need to get more corporate people and more outside people that can give you better training than what's being produced right now. Another example, you have these teaching coaches that are in the school district and they're paid more money. They have laxer type of responsibilities. And they can't teach the teacher. They can't support the teacher. So what y'all have created now is that you send your teachers that are new and put them with a experienced teacher so they can learn the system, learn discipline, learn how to do the curriculum, learn how to go online and get their own class preparation information because y'all don't supply that. So when I see that y'all are not doing well and I see this constant turnover of superintendents, I can see that it's never going to be fixed until you actually fix the process that you, how you take care of your teachers and how you support your teachers. And you're not doing a good job.
I'm not going to disagree with you about the support to the teachers. You had a lot there, so I'm going to pick out a couple things. But definitely, just as we have teachers who complain that we tell them what to do too much, that we're taking the joy of teaching away, that they can't do what they think they need to do, but they have their experience. Our curriculum that we have implemented, which is a state adopted curriculum and math and reading, have a lot of resources, and we intentionally chose that curriculum a couple of years ago because we are seeing a lot of teacher vacancies. We're seeing the turnover, not just in Fort Worth, but it's across the nation. So we need to find a balance of a curriculum that would offer more resources and guidelines. And so it surprises me, honestly, because we're getting complaints that the teachers complain we're telling them what to do too much. We're trying to tighten up because, like you say, we are noticing after especially the pandemic, but going through leadership changes, that there's not consistency amongst our campuses, and even more importantly, on campus with the classroom. So that has been our focus this year as well as our professional development. And if our whole calendars changed, so we did listen to teachers. Our professional development days are now teaching planning days, and then days they get to spend on campus, really working on their craft, what they need to work on. The first day we had them doing professional development around the district. They gave us the feedback. We immediately pivoted to say, stay on campus, have time to plan, have time to work through what you need to do. It is true, we do have students with many needs, not just special ed students within the classroom, but different reading levels, different levels within one group. And we are held accountable to that by the state. That's the state accountability system, but we also are held accountable, unlike private schools and charter schools. We serve all of our students. We are working on also how to assess our students who have learning difficulties. May not be special ed needs, it could be dyslexia needs as well, and then finding them that right resource. We have put lots of funding into dyslexia teachers. It has a ratio of 15-to-1 within our district, where other districts do 22-to-1 or more. But we are committed because we know they're not labeled special ed, they just have a different learning need. When we talk about the campus instructional coaches, yes, they are there to help our teachers, but I also pushing in and pulling small groups does support our teachers as well when you do that, so it's a hybrid. So I would love to hear more, especially from your wife. She's been doing this a while, and how do we balance veteran teachers with new teachers who need more support, but then respect your wife who has done this to give her autonomies as well.
Enjoy the question.
We got time for one or two more questions, and then we'll have to move to our next speaker. So.
Yeah, I just have a general question for you. Okay, I think what's getting missed here is we just had an election. Donald Trump is now the president. Come January. One of the first things he's going to do is defund the education. He's going to get rid of it. We've had major states like California and New York who pretty much fund this country, if you understand the economics, who have pulled legislations back in to say, hey, we need to get prepared for the onslaught that we're going to get come January. My question to you, what are you doing? Because what is your plan? This community is going to be affected. Everybody knows that the governor wants to go back to a voucher program. That voucher program is for the wealthy, it's not for us. So my question is, what are you prepared to do? Because your programs sound wonderful, but come next year, be prepared, because we are going to be impacted. Mr. Ramirez, I saw you on the commercials with Ted Cruz. Now, I don't know, I do analytics for a living in corporate America. One of the things that I saw is coming out of one Tarrant County. So we're not totally afraid. Okay, and so we need to keep that in mind. That there is hope. And understanding that, Mr. Ramirez, you have an into the state government. So again, I ask, how are we preparing for the onslaught that's getting ready to come from the federal government?
So I appreciate what you said, and it started for us 2 years ago when the last legislative session did not give us any funding in public education. This is not new to us. So for the last, since the last session, we have not gotten any additional funding for any of our students, regardless of their learning needs. Whether it's special ed, dyslexia, emergent bilingual, none. So as a district, we've already had to pivot. We have had cuts. We are looking at school consolidations because it costs a lot of money to run a school. Fort Worth ISD has always been very proud about community schools. Washington Heights, a community school. Our enrollment around our elementaries is like 250 to 350 students. But now, because of lack of funding, we have to look at how to consolidate it. So you're right. And that's what we've been doing since, well, really last year we did the master facility plan, because we have to make some really tough decisions because of the lack of funding. We are going to have to close some schools and consolidate them because you do get the efficiency, you have all of your utilities, you have staffing that we can combine, but actually there's some merits to that because you can offer more resources. But we have to look at all these things. There's transportation needs. And Fort Worth ISD, if any student decides to enter one of our schools of choice, we provide that transportation. That funding comes from us because I believe that is a choice. Just like they're trying to do vouchers to give parents a choice, A school of choice within our district is a choice for our parents, our current enrollment, to go to any school that they want to serve in that program. But with that, we pick up the transportation, because if you don't transport students, is it a choice? It's not a choice. So we're still committed to that. So we're going to have to figure out what to do. We have legislative priorities that you'll see on Tuesday night if you watch our board meeting. Our board will vote on them in December. We'll roll out. We will be going to the Capitol. But our voice, we need your help. We have to fund public education.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here. We understand that you might or might not be in this position. But my question is along the lines of your question. We know the situation now. Trump is president. Immigrants are being targeted. They will be targeted.
Yep.
It will not be pretty. What steps will the district take to protect their undocumented students? And
So my husband can attest to this, because Wednesday morning, I immediately met with our legal team, because that is a concern of mine. We have undocumented students, and we know that. And we also know that DACA rules changed in 2023. Right now, well, it's probably going to begin. So right now, our students who are protected under DACA since 2021 can be renewed, and they're protected. But that's not enough for us. So we are coming up with an internal plan. Our thing is that our students, when they're in the school, they are safe. They are with us. Now, what we need to do is make sure that if something happens to one of their parents, that we have the resources already in place, and we know what to do to contact a support, and we need city support for that. Because it may be that we have a student who doesn't have a parent to go home to one day, and we know that. But as a school, and as a school district, when they're in our building, they are safe and they are with us. We just need to make sure what happens next. And some of that is as simple as other people on a call list. You know, as a parent, I'm guilty. You know, I don't want anyone to call the school to call but me. But this is when we've got to start internally saying, I need 3 or 4 numbers in case something happens. But then also, we need community and city help when we have students who may unfortunately be put in that place. Who can they go home to? But they need to know that school is safe for them every single day. And we are committed to that work.
so that means that the school will do everything it can to prevent any federal officers from federal.
We will do everything in our power to keep our students in that school.
Thank you everyone for your questions. We want to take a quick moment for our last guest to recognize the following LULAC and elected officials. Hector M. Flores, former LULAC National President. Salvador Carrillo, the LULAC District 21 Director. LULAC State Deputy for Women. Joanna Cardoza, LULAC District 21 Deputy for Youth. Hector Carrillo, the former District Director, LULAC District 21. Araceli Vasquez, Deputy District Director for Young Adults, LULAC District 21. Amanda Ramos, Treasurer, LULAC District 21. And finally, we'd like to thank Texas State Representative Terry Mesa for District 105. All right, our last guest is going to be Dr. Maha Quiroz Vaughn, the current president of U.S. Institute for Transformation Through Education and the former USCIS Citizenship Ambassador.
Buenos días, ¿cómo está mi gente? No, parece que han comido mucho menudo, no, chorizo, huevo, tortilla. Ok, otra vez. Buenos días. Sí, la gente está fuerte. Everybody seems to have much more strength after that bowl of chorizo menudo, those tortillas, ¿verdad? And etc. So thank you so much for your kind introduction. Today I speak to you as just Mara, right? So I have the titles. So president of this, I'm the current president of LULAC Council 272, who I have been being a part of for many years, almost a decade now. And I would like to also recognize somebody very important, a partner of my partner in crime. We've done so many things, wonderful things together for our people here. Please give a round of applause for Ray de los Santos. Civic director for Dallas. So I have many titles. So I'm the director of programs, community programs at UNT Dallas. And I'm also a professor, right, at the UNT Dallas campus. And I have been representing our nation, our country, and our programs, community programs, all over the world. You know, being in touch with Portugal, Brazil, many countries in Latin America, El Salvador, Guatemala, soon to go to London. And my research has to do what are the best practices for immigration, right? So we have to see what other countries are doing so well to actually design something in our country according to the law that will also serve our people, right? It's good to know what else other countries are doing. So we've been working together, Mr. De Los Santos and I, for almost a decade now to create the best program in the United States for immigrants. UNT Dallas has more than 50% student population of Latino students and student population from all over the world as well, right? So we are college, national side, and also an African American and Black institution. We're very proud of doing that. So if more than half of our students are Latino descent, where many of them are documented or undocumented, most I would say undocumented immigrants, what do we do, right, in the nation? So, but I address you today as a little teacher, as Mara. What's the matter with you? You're going to remember with me, right? My name. So this has been like probably one of the toughest weeks for me as a teacher. And today, as I started reflecting, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, I did my devotional, and I was talking to God, and then my husband surprised me, and he was like, hey, what are you preparing that suit for? I was like, voy a tratar de los negocios de la familia. He's like, what? I'm going to take care of family business. I'm actually going to do some business with God today. I got up to talk to him to see what can I do to answer the questions that I have on my plate today, right? Because I'm just me, I'm just Mara, the little teacher, the little girl who came here 30 years, a little over 30 years ago in the 90s with a terminal illness. Most of you here in the council, I spoke to you not long ago, came here like many other immigrants. My mother sent me here with my sister, right, not with my family, because she had no other option but to part from me so she could give me a better life or a life. I was a terminal patient with cancer. So in that bed, you know my story, I bargained with God and I asked God, hey God, you know, if you spare my life, what can I do for you? And I made him a promise that if my life was spared, that I would look into the other with very, very compassionate eyes as God looked upon me. And I decided the first people that I came into contact in the United States were immigrants. Immigrants who would come translate for me with the little English they had. I learned my first words of English with immigrants. I learned about education with immigrants. I was hired by other immigrants into positions. I was lifted up by immigrants, first generation, second generation, third generation, fifth generation immigrants. and by Latinos. So without a family here, I had to choose a family for myself. And I chose LULAC because you are my family. You are my brother. You are my sister. Whether you're from that party or the other political party, that's not what I came to do here today. So I came to do business with you. And as a teacher, you always have an assignment, right? You ready to do homework today? Yes? Okay, so I had to do a little reflection. And I started to think, what is my family? Do I know about my family history? So I started thinking about LULAC and who we were and how did we started. So I remember that in history, I teach history, right? So that in 1907, there was this law called the English only law. That law was supposed to separate us. So there were three groups of people here in Texas. They were defending the farmer workers. They were defending us, Latinos here in Texas and other parts of the nation, right? We're fighting for education for our children. But we're three little groups, right, that couldn't fight the federal government. So these were the Knights of America, the Order of the Sons of America, and the League of Latin American Citizens. So they got together and said, man, let's, get away with our differences because united, we have power. And it took them a while, and I hope it doesn't take us that while here. So in 1929, from 1907 to 1929, finally in 1929 in Corpus Christi, we became the League of United Latin American Citizens, right? So why? We were fighting that movement, the English-only movement. If you want to annihilate people, if you want to annihilate any group in a society, the first thing, the most efficient thing that you should annihilate is their language. If you take away their language, you take most of an individual. So who did we defend at that time? We defended farm workers, we defended manufacturing workers in the big cities, and we defended their families. What did we request from the federal government? We requested the right to work. We need to support our families. We need the right to work. And we defended our education. Our children have the same right to be educated because we are building a country. We're building America at that time. So today I have a question for you, and I want you to participate. What are we doing? What are we defending? What are we fighting for today? Can somebody tell me?
Our dignity.
Dignity, democracy, freedom of democracy. But what are some of the rights that we need? We just talked about, we had our superintendent talking about education. What else for immigrants?
Right to exist.
Right to exist. How can we exist? By supporting ourselves. The right to work. We don't ask anything for the government to give it to us, but the right to work, right? So I want to give you a couple of statistics. I'm a teacher, so I got to prove what I do. Everything's based on scientific evidence. We have, this is last year, 2023. 334.9 million people in the United States. 47.8 million, which is 14.3% of them are immigrants. What? 14.3% of those are new immigrants, okay? But only 9.8 million are legal permanent residents, which means they're eligible to become naturalized citizens, okay? Every year. In Texas, that's where we are, we have 12.7 million. That is 17.9% of our state, beautiful state, is made out of immigrants. We can't let them go. We go bankrupt, okay? But 808,000 are legal permanent residents who are able to become naturalized citizens. Most of them, 65 plus percent of them are Latinos. Latinos are our people. Why is this important? People are like, why is she giving numbers? Let me tell you why I'm giving you numbers, okay? Last elections, state of Texas, okay? So, elections 2018, the other group lost by 1.1 million votes, okay? Ooh, but 2022 election, the other group lost only by 883,443 votes, which means that we are sitting here in around 1 million votes if we naturalize our people to vote. Say what? We are sitting on 1 million votes in the state of Texas. So let's think about power, right? We want power for our people. So if we think about something else, is that we Latinos move as a family. We try to move as a family, yeah? We move to states where our family are, we legalize our families. We also vote as a family. When I decided to vote the way I voted, my husband voted for my candidates, and my children voted for my candidates as well. So we're not just coming in one people. We don't go solo. We go together, right, as Latinos. So that's who we are. And another thing is that we have powers because Latinos are educators. Say what? Look at our schools and look who's educating our children now. Most of them are Latino teachers. So let me tell you something. People believe they may lose faith in their government. They may lose faith even in their elected officials. But it's very hard for people to lose faith in their teachers or their preachers, right? Those are the people who have the most power after mom and dad, is teachers and preachers. So our people believe in who we are. So I asked God this morning, God, I'm just a little teacher. I'm just educating, this. I'm just teaching these little classes. I'm just doing this. And then he came up and told me, Mara, hey, do the math. Whoever has, get your phones now, okay? And let's do some calculations here. Calculators. Now we have phones, no calculators, right? So I have smaller class, specialized class, because I teach teachers who are going to be teachers, right? How to be a teacher. So my classes are the smallest classes on campus, they're specialized courses. And I have about 15, smallest classes have about 15 students. 4 classes a semester. How much is 15 times 4? Do that times 3. How many? 60 times 3? Per semester? 180. Okay? 180. Now, my department is the smallest. We only have five people. So 180 times 5. Say 200 because they teach more children than I do. Let's say 200 times 5 is 1,000. So we educate 1,000 students, right? So now, let's say only 10% of them actually heard us, listen to us. Do that 100 times, and let's say 100 of them are going to become teachers, and they're going to get another 10%. So do that 100, this is just for 1 year, okay? 100, in 4 years, they're going to be teaching, right? 4 years university, they're going to be teaching. How many is that? 100 times 100. Come up. Anybody? How much? 10,000. Okay, 10,000 times another 100 is how much? So in 4 years, I have 10,000 followers. And then after another 4 years, in 8 years, I'm going to have how many? Who said it? 1 million, right? We have 1 million people. That means in 8 years, we have 1 million followers, right? How about if we all do this together, right? So I was like, I'm a firewalker. 20 years ago, I walked on coals. And as I woke up this morning, I felt like, God, please take me away from this position because I feel like I'm walking on coals again. Why? Because this week, I get emotional about this, I'm not going to get emotional here. I had students coming to me and saying, Dr. Vaughn, what am I going to do? I'm like, about your grade? No, about my family. What about if I'm picked up? What about if my mom's picked up? What about if my dad's picked up? What do? We don't have money. We don't have money for lawyers. We don't know what to do. What do we do? And then I had others, Maestra, how do we get our citizenship? Maestra, who's employing us? Maestra. So all of these questions came up, and I was like, I have to design a plan, right? So I came up with this map. This map is called my map for massive action plan as a firewalker, because I need to get through the line and be on the other side for our people who are going to be doing the same walk. So I built this plan for us LULACers to go together. Number one, to connect LULAC with other councils and districts, right? So to hire a young technology, somebody to know what everybody else is doing. Number two, to call LULACers for duty. What are you going to do for your people? How much do you know about your history? Okay? Teach, volunteer, recruit people for your councils. Bring one every time you go for a LULAC meeting, right? Elect our own people locally. Go and actually run for positions. You can win. We will support you. We need to be there for city council, trustees, superintendent. We need to be there. We have to connect, invite somebody to eat for coffee, to go to your home. But most important, this is our duty. This is your duty. You are an immigrant or a son and daughter of an immigrant. So you need to take a part in forming new citizens. Form new citizens, okay? So LULAC needs to invest on the nationalization of a citizenship program, okay? Becoming new LULACers, bringing new LULACers, new immigrants, fresh blood. We need to reach out to the new immigrants. We need to use scientific evidence. We have a program, Ms. Ray de los Santos and I created a program 7 years ago that is the most comprehensive in the entire nation, proven to work for the past 7 years, and going live next year for the entire nation. So we built a free bilingual program where people have no fear of the language, because everything they hear in English, they will hear also in Spanish. The goal is to reach the most remote areas of the U.S. We can't do that without you. We do technology training, we do GED, we do English, we do vocational and careers, we do job searching for free. And all of that produce jobs with benefits, home ownership, college for your children, or college for themselves, right? But we can't do this without the partnerships. So this year, we're launching the dual citizenship programs with the consulates. First in Texas, then all across the country. We're going to reach out to churches, to law firms, to private and public sector, to the government, to the school system, and to run a campaign. We call it the CA campaign that I'm going to propose next year is Citizenship for All. How can we do this? Think about it. If we stop one day in Texas or in America for an immigration reform, one day without buying, we don't have to tell our employer, we don't have to say to anybody that we are doing any revolution, silent protest by not buying. If you're for immigration reform in this country, you wouldn't buy something. You know why? We are operating under laws that is like over 100 years old. Laws that are created during the English only movement. We have to have freedom for our people. Our economy needs it. Our people need it. Do we need to work on the border? That's another story. That's what we're here for, but we need to continue, okay? So that's my plan. If you want to be a part of it, come talk to me. I'm so proud of this council and also the president of this council who's been working so much, so hard to make sure that this is one of the most connected councils in the whole U.S. for the LULAC. Thank you so much, familia, primos, primas, amigos, amigas.
If anybody wants to ask, then we're going to have community updates.
Hello? Sorry. Hello, Mara. You know what? If you think about this, what puzzles me is that the people in the government are trying to cut programs of education for the children. And I believe we would need more Hispanics, Mexican Americans, or Latinos that can speak Spanish and English and get a higher pay so they can help La Raza. And the funny part about it, if you think about this, they got a pawn shop in every low community, in every corner. They took away the pistol permits in 2021 in September. So now anybody can buy a gun at a pawn shop, but how about if they put bookstores in every corner so that the young kids can learn and get education?
That's a great point, but there's something I have to remind you. There's no government ever that is against education, right? What we have to fight is educate all. Just our superintendent was saying, we teachers, we don't think we should educate 2 children, 4 children. We think about educating everyone. So we need to start with our teachers and we need to educate. So I think even with any type of government, we should fight for education. An educated nation is a nation that will always thrive. So
I have a statement and a question. You know how you want to get those 800,000 legal residents naturalized? Fund their citizenship application, because that is the #1 problem that keeps legal residents from becoming citizens, because they can't afford the high cost of the $725 application fee and everything that goes along with it. You know, I can't stand it when people say, oh, do it the legal way, legal way. Well, you know what? They put these, you know, fees and they keep raising it up and they make it more difficult. So it discourages people to become citizens. So I find a way to fund. I haven't yet found any nonprofit or any organization, Latino organization, that if you really want to help the Latinos become U.S. citizens, fund their applications, and you will get all of them funded.
yeah, thank you so much for that.
And another thing, you were talking about children. I just want to remind that the Texas legislator has been talking about taking away public education from our children, undocumented children. They don't want to give them the right to have public education. So I would be on alert for that. So we're talking a lot about public education. Gear yourselves up in the next 4 years. And with this Texas legislator and this country coming up with this new administration, you better believe they will come for our communities.
Thank you so much. So I have a question. I don't have enough time to expand on our program, but we have been operating for the past 7 years with the help of partners, right? The USCIS has been one of the greatest partners because we talk about the law. How can you become a permanent resident? We have another law firm that does all of our paperwork for free. It's called Proyecto Migrante. Okay? We were just in Guatemala 2 weeks ago. Doing this. So Proyecto Migrante doesn't charge anyone for for filling out their papers to become citizens. Now, the fee is $725. That fee, the government provides scholarships for those that can prove that they can't pay. And we take care of everything else. For example, the educational part, mental health, how to go to school online, in person, how to get a GED. We work with the consulates, directly with the consulates. We provide people with opportunities for education. I don't have enough time to tell you about our comprehensive program, but somebody enters my door today, my office, and they say, hey, Dr. Vaughn, I want to become a citizen, but I don't have the means, I don't have the money. My kids want to go to college, but I don't know how. We don't have money for college. That's when the LNESC Center works with us at UNT Dallas, and we provide those families with all of those answers. The financial answers, the preparation answers, with the scholarships. We are there for our people. So that's why our program is the most comprehensive. We have seen people go from not having a GED, not knowing English, not having a citizenship, all the way through. So first they learn English, they get their citizenship, then they get their GED, and they go into a vocational program, get a job with benefits, start making more money, buy a car, buy a house. Home ownership is really big for us Latino. And you know what? Their kids are going to go, they see their mom and dad going to college. They say, what? Mom and dad is going to college for English? They don't care what they're going to college for. They say, if mommy, daddy, or my grandma, grandpa, tio, tia are going to college, guess what am I going to do? I got to go to college too. Because if they're going to college, so will I. So it's a cycle, right? Get us away from the poverty cycle. Any other questions?
Anyone have a final question?
Yes, I had a very simple question on the 800,000, that's what you mentioned about people.
This was last year, so this year should be close to $1 million, if not $1 million, in 2024. They're eligible to become naturalized citizens of America. In other words, voters. When they go through our program, they become voters, and they learn also how to vote, how to look into the history of their political candidates.
Okay, I think this lady right here, she focused on the main subject, which is the money, because I talked to Domingo about the possibility of our district getting involved in volunteering to help people to prepare the citizenship application. And he told me honestly it was not a good idea for one reason. Because all of the attorneys charge $800 to prepare the application.
Now our attorneys.
Well, 99%. But this is just part of the ugliness the immigrants are facing all over the place, not just on the preparation of the application. And we have to make a little time to focus in the election of Donald Trump, how it's going to affect the community, all of the massive deportation that is going to take place. One simple point. Why so many Mexican Americans in Brownsville, in that area, voted for Donald Trump? We might think, well, it's because a coincidence, because of the powerful campaign of Donald Trump. That's not the reason. The reason is because since 10 years ago, the corporations been taking over that area, along with the Republican Party, along with the governor, and along with the legislators. Now, we do not have a chance to fight against those people, and our people already became Republican. I don't know how we're going to fight that, but we need to take a lot of radical steps, getting rid of the leaders who are not good at the national level of the Democratic Party or any other organization. The community needs to take action. We have 150,000 visitors to the Grand Plaza every week. And maybe 80% of those visitors are undocumented. How are we going to prepare those people with the due process? What kind of right they might have if they are stopped by the police? Can we create a coalition with the owners of the Grand Plaza? You belong to LULAC, right?
Yes, very proud.
We are all about belong to LULAC. And so, unfortunately, like I said, LULAC was not able to do anything at all on the Broadway thing about people becoming Republican. Our people that came from Mexico, some of them, that became naturalized, like you said. And so Republicans are being very, very aggressive on recruiting Mexican Americans. So we need to be one step ahead.
Okay. And I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%, and I think it's a great perspective and it's a great analysis of that. With that great analysis comes also who voted for who or when, and I'm not going to be very political about it on my explanation because I am on the side of, well, until last month anyways, bipartisan all the way through, right? So what we have to think about is the matter of education. How do we educate people? We don't tell people who to vote for, but we tell people the way we educate our people to become new citizens, new voters in America, is how to vote, how to look into the research, right? So if I'm going to vote here for my friend, first I'm going to research what he has done already, what his plans are, but also what he has done for my people, what she has done as his wife for my people, right? For education, for what I believe in. And this is not what is being taught at the Valle to the people. So if you're my friend and say, vote for me, and all of that, yes. But again, like I said, we vote as families, right? So when are we going to break that cycle? When LULAC is going to invest on it. We're investing on scholarship for children, but who are the ones that have the most power into the children's education? We are. We should be educating adults first, because if I ask you, let me ask here anybody, why did you become a LULACer? Usually because you have a family member or best friend who you consider your family that brought you into LULAC. So it's a legacy. We need to use the same approach, educate the adults first, naturalize them as citizens of America so they can become voters, fresh blood, new generation that is going to have hope, not negativity, within them, and they're going to hope for the future. We're crying out for LULACers who have that blood. It's our call to educate the new immigrants so this cycle doesn't continue happening. New immigrants becoming against other immigrants that will come through. Does it make sense? We have to bring that consciousness in, and unless we educate our own and the new people come fresh, and they won't know. We are the ones who should be telling them what our beliefs are and bringing them in as LULACers. So we're sitting on 1 million LULACers in the state of Texas. We are sitting again on 1 million people who could possibly become LULACers and could possibly engage on this fight. If this 1 million and their families, because all of them are from mixed status families, they already have the right to vote, we could turn the next election in Texas and therefore the next elections across the United States. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mara. All right, we're going to end off with some committee announcements really quickly. So if anybody has any